I've been asked to video this. What I'm making is a Christmas ornament out of clay. I'm using a B-Mix 5, but you can use a low fire earthenware, you can use a stoneware, you can use paper clay, you can also use air dry clay for this project. So I'm going to wedge up this little bit of B-Mix. And roll it out. I'm going to start out at about 1/4 of an inch thick. For those of you at home, the paint stir sticks, that the large ones, the long ones that you can get at the lumber yard, I think they come in a pack of like 6 or 8. These are 1/4 inch thick, so if you need rolling guides, these make perfect guides to keep your thickness the same all the way through. Remember that when you're rolling out your clay, you're going to roll out on either a wooden board, canvas, cotton, but anything that's porous, you don't want to roll out on a non-porous surface. Now that's rolled out, I'm just going to take an old credit card or this, I think, is one of those key cards from some trip. And I'm going to smooth and compress both sides. And this is a really simple project. Your kids can do this. If you're using air dry clay, you can make them at home. Don't worry about kiln. Okay. Now I'm going to put some texture on mine. You can use anything for texture. This is a wooden roller, texture roller. There are a variety of these that are available. You can also use fondant rollers, stamps, rubber stamps, any type of fabric that has a texture you like. You can roll it in and peel it off. But I'm going to use this one. And there's my texture. All right. Next, I'm going to use a piece of plastic to cover. Just makes it easier on the cleanup because it keeps the edges smoother. The cutter that I'm using is a 3-inch cutter, 3-inch cookie cutter. Okay. And I'm going to choose where I want on my pattern to cut. And I need 2. All right. Fill my plastic up. Excess clay that can be wedged up and reused. And here are my little rounds. All right. So, the next step is that I am going to use this 2-inch styrofoam ball. Okay, you can get it any Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, any craft store, Michael's. Put the piece of clay in the palm of my hand, and I want to do this very gently because if I use too much pressure, I will distort my texture. And all I'm going to do is just coax this clay down and around this styrofoam ball. Okay, so take your time. Don't try and do this in a big hurry. Just work your way around gently. Okay, and then pull your styrofoam ball out, and you have this little half round. We're going to do this with the next piece. Okay, so now I have 2 halves of a round. Take my serration tool, my serrated tool. Now you can use just about anything as a scoring tool. And I'm going to get it wet, and I'm going to score around these edges. Now as I'm scoring it, I'm making slip. I don't use slip, I let the clay make its own slip. And if you'll notice, this edge kind of comes up. I want it flat. So when I score it, I'm scoring it flat. I want it flat so that the 2 halves will meet together better. Alright. Now, put the 2 halves together. Okay, now using my 2 thumbs, I'm very gently squishing the 2 halves together so they adhere to one another. All the way around. You can see the slip squishing out. Once I've made it all the way around, I'm going to get back my scoring tool, and I'm going to score that join. First in one direction and then in the other. Okay. Now, using it like a little wheel, I'm just going to roll on my surface to compress that join. And go back and do just a little bit of cleanup. Now, we have our ornament made, but we need a hanger. So let's set this aside for a moment. Go back to our scrap clay. It is a small piece. I've got a piece about the size of a large marble. I really don't even need that much. Okay. On my surface that's still damp, and I want it damp because my hands suck the moisture out of the clay and I don't want it getting dry. So I work on a damp surface. I'm going to roll it, and if you're not good at rolling and you find it's getting flat, just take it and twist it and roll it. Remember to roll away, pull back, roll away, pull back. So you're only putting pressure in one direction. This is a lot more than I need. I want my hanger to be substantial, but I don't want it to overwhelm the piece. So I'm going to work it down to where it's about the diameter of a pencil, maybe. Okay. And now, I dipped mine in a little bit of water off camera to keep it nice and moist. Cut away the excess. Now I'm going to cut at an angle on both legs so that it meets the round of my ornament, and decide where I want my hanger to be. And I'm going to go, if you can look on, I've got a part of my pattern coming up here. I'm going to span that. So a little bit of scoring, a little bit of water, score the legs of my hook, my hanger, put them down there, very gently compress it down, and now I'm just going to smooth it on. Okay, paintbrush with a stiff bristle and some water, and I want to take the excess water off, and using it just damp, I'm going to go around and clean up those joins. I can use the handle to pull a little bit of the clay down, to meld them together a little better. Clean up any problems. And there's your ornament. Remember, you can do this with any type of clay, even air dry. If you use air dry, of course, you would not be glazing it, but you can use any type of acrylic craft paints or spray paints on your air dried ornament.